Well, welcome once again to Raising the Consciousness of Humanity, where we share topics on spirituality, metaphysics, and positivity, and things that really, I think, hit home with a lot of things that are really, really important for us to discuss during these times. And I'm really delighted because I have a special guest, Reverend Denise Schubert. She is the Center for Spiritual Living, Cape Coral, Senior Minister there, Spiritual Director. And Reverend Denise, it's so wonderful to have you on the show.
It's just wonderful to be here, Ron. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and what I want to tell the audience is like, this is going to be, I think, an amazing story. Reverend Denise shared a little bit about, she calls it "I Didn't Die," which we'll dive into that a little bit more. But before we even begin, I want to ask the audience, to help us by just, if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button. If you can hit that thumbs up button too, because that helps the algorithm. It helps more people to be able to see this video and see this wonderful and hear this wonderful message. So, yeah, Reverend Denise, let us know, go ahead into that story because it is so intriguing. People have things that go on in their life, and this sounds like something that was pretty major for you. And the fact that you kind of felt that, hey, maybe this was the end, and that must have been something. So if you can share from the beginning, like what entailed and what got you to this point where I didn't die, and and the lesson and everything else that you learned with that. So
Yeah, it sounds so funny to hear you someone else say those words, and clearly, ta-da! Clearly, I didn't
yeah.
die. um, well, I tell the story because as a New Thought minister, my work is to build faith in people and
Mm,
to build trust in people and to build surrender in people to some power greater than they are, really, to allow some kind of some deeper meaning in life. So I tell it because every time I tell it, people are going, "Oh my God, you have to tell this story because it sounds unfathomable."
mm,
So let me create a context. So I was in a new job at the Unity Church in Naples, Florida, and I was in the process of being in that new job, and I had a scheduled trip to South Africa in September of 2021, returning to have my hip replaced on November 1st. So I came back from South Africa. We had just hired an associate minister who we hadn't really had a chance to work together yet. And I settled in for the month of October and then took 6 weeks off to go have my hip replaced, which was beautiful. And my hip replacement was incredibly successful. But I went home on November 1st, and on November 2nd, I had a stroke. And how I knew I had a stroke is my sisters were both here from wherever they lived. They were both in my home. And I was on my phone, and all of a sudden I couldn't read my phone. It was like all the letters were going zzz, and it's
oh
like,
wow.
I know, it's like, you guys, there's something wrong with my phone. That's the holy hiccup. The
Mm,
stroke is the holy hiccup. And then I went to my computer, and the same thing was happening. And all of a sudden, things I were seeing got distorted. And
mm.
so we didn't know what had happened. We called healthcare nurse, home care nurse. They came in on Wednesday. They said, no, everything's fine. Then nothing got better. In fact, it got a little worse. And then on Thursday, my primary care said, you need to take her to urgent care. Take your sister to urgent care. We think she's having a stroke or had a stroke.
Wow. So you couldn't see at all, like being
No, I could see, but everything was distorted. Everything was,
distorted. Okay.
especially, I couldn't put words around it, but if I were looking at you, it's like one side of you was really, really skinny, and one side of you was like Popeye.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I never even thought stroke, to tell you the truth, because I used to be a ER emergency room chaplain, and I hated strokes. I mean, they were so scary to me. And you
Mm,
say, whatever happens, just don't let me have a stroke. So we went to the ER. They did they took a CAT scan of my brain and said, yep, you've had a stroke.
Mm.
Uh, so it really, the truth is, in that moment, I was devastated. It was like, what? You know, so my, and that was the day after my hip replacement.
Oh.
So anyway, so during that period, I was in the hospital for 3 days, and they did every test imaginable, and the verdict was you have a stroke, you've had a stroke. And they did an angiogram, which for those who don't know what that is, they go in through the groin and run a camera
Mhm.
up through your vein into your brain, and they let me stay awake for it. I don't know
Oh,
why.
wow.
They said, we're not going to put you out. We're going to let you stay awake. I think they were afraid to. I think they were afraid to put me under general anesthetic again.
Okay.
But anyway, it was like San Francisco LSD.
Yeah.
It, because the cameras in your brain, and every time they touched a different part of the brain, something would happen. Like I would taste chocolate, or I would see fireworks, or I would smell pineapple. It was so
Oh,
cool.
wow.
It was cool. Anyway, they put me on Plavix, they put me on a blood thinner, a baby aspirin, and a statin, and sent me home and said, have a good life. Now,
Yeah.
in the meantime, I can't see very well. I
Mm.
had no idea whether or not I would be able to drive.
Yeah.
And my sisters, I hope they never see this, because they were like the worst caretakers ever on the entire planet.
Mm.
And even in the hospital, as everybody's paying attention to my stroke, and I just had my hip replaced, so it was like, people, I need help. I'm
Mm.
on a walker. Um, this is not really the story. I'm really setting the scene for the story.
Okay.
So my sisters stayed through the month of November about 3 weeks longer than I wanted them to stay.
Okay.
Right. It was pretty tense and pretty stressful, and they didn't
Mm.
really know what to do for me. And anyway, so finally they left, and I'm doing fine. I live alone, so I'm at home healing from my stroke and my hip replacement, walking around my block in my walker, and um, went to a wonderful. Well, here's the first miracle. I called not optho, a neural ophthalmologist, who is an eye doctor who specializes in strokes,
Okay.
and went to see him and said, I Ubered over to him, and I said, so check me out. So he checks me out. At the end, I say, so can I drive? Oh no, first he said, actually, no, the first miracle is I called his office, and they said, well, we don't have any openings till March. And this is
Mm.
in first week of December.
Mm.
And I said, well, oh, I said, that's terrible. I just had a stroke, and I just need to know if I can drive, and because I'm working, and blah, 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 blah. Uh, and they said, well, we're so sorry, let's put you in March. And they called me back the same day, and she said, oh, Dr. Judd, I talked to him, and he said he'll see you tomorrow. I was like,
Oh, that's
great.
amazing. Yeah.
It was amazing. It's like, it was so kind. It was, oh my God, it felt like a gift from God. It was like, okay, great. So I go to see him. He gives me every test possible. And I said, can I drive? And he said, yes. He said, well, actually, what he said is, I guess that's my call, isn't it? I said, I'm hoping it's your call. And he goes, yeah. He goes, okay, I'm going to say yes. And you pay attention to your left, because how the strokes has settled into my being is I had what was called a left cutoff, which
Okay.
means everything on the left is hard for me to see.
Mm.
It's actually a focus thing. If I don't focus, I don't see it
Okay.
on the left hand side. So he was saying, just check your left, make sure you check your left mirror, don't take it for granted. Anyway,
Mhm.
this was 5 years ago now, right? So I did start driving. The distortion in my vision did calm down. So
Mhm.
I now can read, I drive, I use my computer. Uh, it's not as easy as it was before, but with that said, I'm so grateful I can see it all.
Nice.
All right, so there we are. My sisters go home. I resigned my position at Naples because I wasn't comfortable driving, whether he said I could drive or not. Right.
Mhm.
So, and I live in Fort Myers, so it's an hour drive. So I resigned my position, which was it was okay.
Mhm.
It was okay. But then it's like, well, now what am I going to do? I just can't sit here and not see. And now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I got this truly powerful download that I needed to leave.
Mm.
And it kind of just showed up like that. It kind of showed up like I needed to go somewhere. And I was walking on my walker in my community, and there was a friend who was on his golf cart and he was talking to somebody. And it turns out that the prices of the houses where I live were like 4 times what I paid the year before. So
Oh, wow.
I learned that if I sold my house, I would make enough money. I would make money.
Yeah.
Not, not a lot of money. It's manufactured home community,
Yeah.
but still 3 times more than I paid. So I said, well, that's great. I'm selling my house. So I proceeded to sell everything. I made myself homeless. I
Mm.
I sold my house turnkey, which means everything in it.
Hmm.
I sold my car to a couple that owned another house inside of where I live. I sent two boxes to my sister and packed 6 suitcases and went to South Africa for an undetermined amount of time.
Oh, wow.
Because I really got the hit that if I was going to die, I didn't want to die alone in my house. I would rather die someplace where I love. And I did have a friend there who owned an Airbnb. So I had someplace to go.
Okay.
So that's what I did
Yeah.
I ended up moving March 22nd. I took all my assets, whatever they were, and put them with beneficiaries or
Mm.
pay off debt. So all my bills, I truly walked away with 6 suitcases. That's all I owned.
Oh, wow.
That's it. I mean,
That's hard for anybody to do. So, yeah.
well, it wasn't hard. I was so free.
Yeah.
I was so liberated. The experience was liberation, really.
Mm.
So I went to South, a friend came with me because there was no way I could navigate an airport at that point. So a friend came with me, stayed for 2 weeks, and then came home. And I spent 6 months there walking and healing and getting rid of my walker and my crutches and communing with elephants and giraffes. And uh, then at some moment, my visa expired and I was ready to come home. But of course, I had no home to come home to.
Mm.
This is where it gets good. It's going to get good now. So before I left South Africa, I mean, I could have gone to stay with one of my sisters, but in my world, not a good idea.
Hmm.
And so I decided to call the people who bought my car because they were snowbirds,
Hmm.
meaning your viewers, they're people who leave for the summer and then come
Yep.
back. So they, come back and forth between 2 houses. And I knew that they were at their house in Illinois. So I said, can I rent your house for a few months while I figure out what to do? And they
Hmm.
said yes. So I come back, move into this house, which they didn't charge me very much for it. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? It wasn't, they just let me use their house.
Nice.
Uh, by the way, this was 1 week before Ian hit Florida. So
Okay.
I was in that house during a category 5 hurricane.
And that's in the part of where Ian hit too, Fort Myers area.
Oh yeah, it was right on our head. But I've never been in a hurricane. I'm new to Florida. So
Yeah.
the next door neighbor happened to be the brother-in-law of the person whose house I was renting. And he knocks on my door. He goes, come on, get in my van. We're going to Miami to escape the hurricane. To which I said, sir, I do not know you. I'm not going to Miami with you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay put. So everything about that all turned out fine, of course.
Hmm.
Um, After all the water went away, I got into what was used to be my car because
Mm.
these people who bought my car, and my phone synced to the car. So I call them in Illinois. I say, Dave and Sue, this is Denise. I said, can I buy my car back from you? And at first she said no, because she loved it's a little Jeep. It's very cute. And then
Okay.
I think they talked about it. And so they sold it back to me for exactly what they paid me. They paid me for it. They sold it back to me exactly for that. I added $1,000 for the taxes and license that I'm sure they had to pay.
Yeah.
So now this is September, so almost a year. I'm back in Florida in their house with my car.
Hmm.
It actually gets a little bit better.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was never worried during this. Do you understand? Like this purpose of the story, which we'll talk more about, I'm sure,
Yeah.
is just going with the flow,
Trusting. Yeah.
trusting. So I'm without a job. Well, I'm also 74 years old. So I had kind of been retired anyway, but so I
Yeah.
did not have a job. I had a little bit of money. I was living in a rented house, and the people across there's some people across the street who own a home who asked me if I would babysit their dog while they went on a 3-week cruise.
Hmm.
So I said, sure, of course. And their house is twice as beautiful and twice as big as the house I was renting.
Hmm.
So I come do that. I come live in their house for 3 weeks. I then didn't really have too much more to do. So I decided to go back to Africa for a
Hmm.
while, just for fun. Uh, Came back and was renting an apartment in Naples, also working in Naples a little bit part-time. Anyway, the important part is I'm up here visiting the neighbors because we'd become friends. And they said, do you want to buy our house? And
Oh, wow.
I said, I can't afford your house. And they said, how much of my house can you afford? So I said, no, I don't know. And I had this thought I could get a little help from my sister. Anyway, they told me, okay, you couldn't buy it. All right, we'll sell it to you for 110,000. Now, they had already started to list it with Hometown America, which owns this piece of property, for 160.
Hmm.
So literally, I called my sister, Laura, can you loan me $40,000? She goes, I'll just give you 40,000. You know, I don't have to loan it to you. And I said, okay.
Oh, wow.
So I bought this house. So that was 2 years ago. So I'm now living in this beautiful house that I own, uh, and working full time now at the Cape Coral Center for Spiritual Living, which
Yeah.
also happened simultaneously about that same time. You know, then it was like, all right, now what am I going to do? It's like, okay, this is all great. I have a house again, but I need something to do. And then out of the blue, the minister at Cape Coral decided to leave, and they called to see if I wanted it. And I
Oh,
said,
wow.
definitely. So when I say I didn't die, it's really not that. It's really about faith and
Hmm.
and honoring your intuition and
Hmm.
trust, because I do trust. You know, I've been doing this work for 25 years. Nobody has to talk me into anything. I already have proven all the principles for myself.
Hmm.
I know they work, and I know what works most of all is positive expectation.
Hmm.
Do you expect everything to work out for you?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have positive expectation, if you're not waiting for that good, or and by the way, I didn't tell God to do any of these things. I didn't
Hmm.
say, please find me a house, please make my sister give me money, please let me drive again. There was never any prayers like that. It was more like, um, how can I move into a space of making whatever happens okay, and
Hmm.
allowing whatever's going to happen, knowing that it's happening for my good. And that happened, that started really even in the hospital with the stroke. It
Okay.
really it really started there because I was pretty sure I would die in the angiogram. I don't know why, but I was pretty sure there was a good chance because my brain was already had a
Yeah.
kerfuffle. And now they're going to go up there and start digging around. So I thought, there's a chance. There's a chance you don't come through this as yourself or at all. So I remember putting on Celine Dion music, big
Hmm.
music, uh, El Divo, tenors, Celine Dion, Barbara Streisand, really loud, and crying and crying, and mostly from ecstasy, because I don't know, this big music really touches me.
Yeah.
And this wonderful big big, I don't know the proper thing to say here, but big black African American nurse comes in singing, and she goes, honey, what's wrong with you? She, what's wrong with you? And I said, oh, I'm so scared. She goes, Oh, honey, this is what she said to me. Oh, darling, you're on God's time now. She goes, don't
Yeah.
you worry about anything. You're going to be singing and dancing. You're going to put those earrings back on.
Wow.
She was preaching to me. It was like, and I told her, I said, you are preaching to me. And she goes, just, you're on God's time now. That's what she said. You are on God's time now.
What a
And
great, yeah.
there was something about that that I just thought, good. Okay, then I'm not going to worry about this. I
Mm,
can't live in fear. I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to live, I don't want, I think I went to Africa really so I could get away from people expecting me to do something they wanted me to do so I could just heal at my own rate in my own relationship with life and in nature,
yeah.
of course, because I truly was surrounded by where I was living was called the Hoedspruit Wildlife Estate, and they really did have giraffe and elk, antelopes and
Mm,
hyenas and monkeys. So we were constantly surrounded by nature.
nice.
Yeah. So that's really the story that not only did not die, but life. Here's where I'm at today. I think the 70s may be my favorite decade.
Isn't
And
that
I don't
great?
know anybody who can say that.
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't, I'm a 55 plus community. Most of the people who live here around me are probably around my age, somewhere between 60 and 99. And I'm probably in the middle somewhere. But
Mm,
I don't know many who would say this is my favorite decade.
yeah.
Because
A
most
lot of
people,
them actually say, "Where did time go?" Or "I wish I," yeah. So yeah, that's to say
yeah,
that and to feel that and to be that is great.
yeah. And there's something about obviously I had a little money in the bank. I wasn't afraid of starving, right? Or
Mm,
of not having what I needed to have my basic needs met, obviously. So I didn't throw everything away and just fly off into the wind irresponsibly.
yeah.
But nonetheless, I don't know many people who clean out their garage, much less throw everything out or
Yeah.
give everything away,
Yeah.
right? And I truly did. I kept so little, and I took, all my treasured things I gave to people I love, but goodwill, or just left it in the house, and the real special things went with me to South Africa. So I had a whole soapcase full of things that didn't need to go to South Africa, but I didn't want to throw them out or give them away.
Sure.
So so I don't know. I think it was so freeing
Mm,
and so affirming of new thought principles, that, and last week, this is relevant, I guess. Last week I went to the CSL's annual convention.
okay, nice.
And it was and I hadn't been to one for 15 years. And there was about 400 people there. It was in Reno, Nevada. And their theme was Together in Joy.
Mm,
But the message of this conference was new for me a little bit, not for me, but new for the organization, in that in Science of Mind, we very much focus on prayer
hmm
and demonstration
hmm
and proving the principle, like treat and move your feet,
Yeah.
parking spaces and relationships. We spend a lot of time on manifestation.
Yeah.
And that's good. Everybody needs to learn how to use their mind in such a way that they can create the life that they want, the money that they
hmm
want, the relationships that they want. But we've kind of over the years left God out of the scenario. Like,
Mm,
like, like sometimes we went through periods where we would go Mother, Father, God to try to make it not the
yeah.
God of our childhood, and
Yeah.
sometimes and we stopped saying thank you, God, because we don't want to make God sound like it's outside of you.
Yeah.
But that was being talked about differently this week, because what I know is that, not quite sure how to word this, is that we have a relationship with it,
Yeah.
a real relationship. And you can't have a relationship with something that doesn't exist separate from you to some degree. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think when I think when we're in the flow, we don't need to pay attention to that relationship because we're already connected. But I promise you that when you've had a holy hiccup, which was the stroke, when you have a holy hiccup and you're not sure what to do, I wanted that relationship. I wanted that guidance, so
Mm.
it's a little bit of I'm reaching out to you. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's get into relationship here so that I can surrender into it, so I can trust.
Surrender. Yeah, that's a beautiful word. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that I can know that everything I need, I'll have, and that I don't have to be afraid. And that guidance, by the way, it's far better to listen to that than to your sisters telling you what to do. Do you know how horrified my family was?
Yeah.
Hi, family. I'm going to sell everything I own and move to South Africa for 6 months. And I know I just had a stroke and my hip replaced, but I'll be okay. Do you know how insane they thought I was?
I'm sure, right?
They couldn't stop me, but they were, I mean, they truly thought I was crazy, as did most people.
Mm.
There were a few precious ones who said, you go for it, just do what you got to do. But most people were like, can we talk about this? How smart is this? You can't really see,
Yeah.
right? And you can't really walk. So you're going to go to Africa and you're not going to see or walk. And aren't you a little afraid? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so what I would share with anybody is just to you don't have to have these serious conditions to
Mhm.
have these realizations. You can have them in your every ordinary lives with your level of stress and forcing things to happen and making things happen and thinking things won't happen. And you can kind of cultivate an
Mhm.
understanding, cultivate a relationship with the God of your own understanding, but to
Mhm.
really surrender and have faith in the goodness of this universe and
Yeah.
how I don't know how it works. It's very mysterious, really, to me in some ways. And I'm pretty sure it's probably a quantum conversation about how
Yeah.
I think in the Bible it says God knows your heart. God knows what you need before you know what you need. But you
Yeah.
have to believe that. And you can't really believe that if you are still living with the God of your childhood,
Mhm.
especially if the God of your childhood was not a good God,
Yeah.
right? Was a judgmental God or a mean God or a fickle God or a so I think the work we're doing really is to create a new God, a new
Mhm.
understanding about what we mean when we say that word, and that there's no anger in it, there's no judgment in it, there's
Yeah.
no I'm going to make you suffer in it. There's
Yeah.
no there's no frogs, there's no flying frogs or locusts or dead babies. None of that happens with our new God.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love the quote, like, we were made in the likeness of the one, the likeness and image of the one of
Yeah.
God. And yet the humans reverse engineer that and then make that
Mm.
thing we call God like a human.
Exactly. But
The same.
that's exactly right. We project our
Yeah.
judgment, our fear, our fickleness on what that word,
Yeah.
it's a great disservice to humanity that that's happened. And I'm very happy to be a part of some conversation
Yeah.
that whatever it is, it's you're not separate from it. I actually, for me, it's like
Mm.
we're like a fish in a fishbowl, and God is the water. And
Right.
fish do not swim around going, "Where's my water? Where's my water?" Right?
Yeah.
It's the same with us. We're trying to find God, and we are in it, like
Right.
we're inside of it, and that it's on our side, and it knows what we need. You know, even if I mean, if I had died, it would have been okay. I mean, I
Yeah.
was surrendered. So whatever happened, I was fine with. So I just did one day at a time. What's next? What's next? What's next? Up until even now, what's next? And if I get an answer to that question in any way, I do it. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, Reverend Denise, you shared, you mentioned at a certain moment your intuition kind of you your sisters said, "Oh no, don't go to Africa," but you had the inner guidance that was like, I think that's very important. Like you shared that a couple of times about listening to your own inner self,
Yes,
and I feel within your conversation and your story, there was that part of where, yeah, you had that bit of surrender and trust and faith to be able to do that. Something within you did. Um, and then you listen to your inner voice. That's hard for people,
it
right?
is. Yes, it is very hard for people. And I asked myself a question actually in my little house, the one I sold, which was beautiful. And my family had gone home. I had gotten clearance to drive. But I remember asking myself, if this is it, what do you want to do? Like if this is your last year, what do you want to do? That was my question. And
Yeah,
it came to me every time I asked it. If I'm going to die, I want to die in Africa. That was my answer to my question. If I'm going
yeah,
to die, I want to die in Africa. And it really wasn't if I want to live. It was like, if this is it, I want to spend my last 6 months in nature. And it
yeah,
was so clear. There was no question. There was no or. I want to do
yeah.
that or. Yeah.
And it's funny too because I recently went to India, and I know it was like the experience of being there. I felt a different energy, and I'm sure when you were in Africa, it could have been also, it's in everything is vibration, right? So it could have been from a aspect of healing
Mm.
the energy that you were there. Like I'm sure, I mean, you've been to Africa before, but maybe you just felt this deep connection with nature, and there was just ease in your body, and your body know, knows what to do.
Yes.
But when you're in some place where they are feeling, that essence of just the state of beingness of love and joy and things like that, that may have had a part of it too. That's
Yes. Well, and plus, the other thing about that was I'm a minister. I was a minister. I've been a minister all this time. And in New Thought, we tend to be very positive. So I would have all these people around me who wanted to talk me out of what I was feeling, like,
yeah,
and and during that time, I had a lot of feelings. I was very scared for a while. I had to grieve my sight a little bit.
yeah,
Uh, so all of a sudden, I was self-conscious about how I was going to show up around my tribe. So I felt like I needed to be someplace where I could be not have to do that, not have to make other people comfortable or pretend I was happy on that day when I was actually in a lot of pain, or because New Thought people, I mean, they say very stupid things to each other, like, oh, I'm having a lot of pain today. Well, if you say so, why don't we turn that around? It's like, why don't you blow off? you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
right? It's like, so we have to, it was also a place of very deep compassion for myself to just be without
Yeah,
having to do anything for anyone.
yeah. No, that's true, right?
Yeah.
Taking the time, the compassion for the self,
Mhm.
that's important. You must bring all of this into your messages now, whether you realize it or not. I mean, would you say that you probably embody a deeper sense of conviction of of new thought and the principles behind it? Just
Totally.
in, yeah,
Well, and also, and more, because I'm far less interested now. When people first come into New Thought, if somebody walks in your door for the first time, they don't really have any spiritual path. They
yeah,
could be they could be recovering from a divorce or an illness
mm,
or an addiction. All these principles are new, and our very first focus for many years for most people is really, you are not a victim. You are a powerful creator. Your mind is your tool for creation. So let's
mm,
change how you think so you can change your life. That's what we do. Change your thinking, change your life. And in that process is a very scientific one. really, because
Yeah.
the manifestation process is just like gravity.
Yeah.
And if you can think with enough discipline and commitment and focus, you can really manifest any job you want, any relationship you want, which is
Yeah.
all very good news. And we don't really focus on the relationship with God or letting that word even come near us. It takes a minute.
Sure.
But really where I'm at now is without faith, trust, and surrender, you will always have a kind of stress, even in your manifestation work, because you're going to be thinking you didn't do it right, or maybe you're not lucky, or maybe you're
Yes.
not doing enough affirmations.
Or the one, where is it?
Yeah,
It's
where is
not
it?
here yet. Yeah.
But I'm actually now an advocate of don't worry. Einstein said,
Uh-huh.
I want to know the thoughts of God. The rest are details.
Nice.
So where I'm at is your relationships, your money, where you live, what you drive. Those are details. Do not worry about them.
Mm.
Ask the right questions of the universe. If I only had a decade to live, what would I want to be doing? Where would I want to be? Who would I want to be with? And then let the details happen.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you, I could not have orchestrated my good God, glorious life that I'm living right now in any way, the way that it came about. I could not have even fathomed it would come that way.
Yeah.
It's a sweet surprise. It's like, okay, well, this is better than I could have imagined. And it's
Yeah. Better than I could have ever imagined, which is back to that quote, if we wrestle with the details or try to control the details, we may become blind to the true blessing that's already there for us. And
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So I'm kind of more of a God person now than I used to be. Like more of a really an advocate
yeah,
for people really healing their relationship
mm,
with, because we do know that we did not create this. Like you and me, we had nothing to do with Earth. We have nothing to do with sunsets. We have nothing to do with babies or butterflies. I mean, all humans do is evolve in consciousness and figure out how to use for good what God's already done, or
yeah,
what the universe has already done, or what the infinite intelligence of everything has already done. So it doesn't, God's just a word we use, but if what I just said is true, then that intelligent universe knows what to do with us as well.
yeah,
So we can trust it more than most people probably do trust it.
yeah.
So
Well said. Yeah.
uh,
Well, the question though is we've got a lot of people that, whether they're listening to this podcast at this moment or later, when they're struggling in their own way of saying, okay, how do I put that into action within my life? What what would you suggest to anybody who feels like, well, I've lost that touch with what I would call God, or where do I even start? Because I'm so focused on a life that's maybe not working, whether it's relationship, whether it's job, whether it's financial or abundance, or maybe just they're just not feeling joy. What would you suggest to that individual that where do they start?
well, it's actually tricky. It's a tricky question for me, because if the person who's struggling in their relationship or their money or their health doesn't have a faith-based life, isn't in touch with some higher power, something greater than they are. So if
Yeah,
they're just in their human ego self, thinking that they're on their own with no help, that would be a different conversation for me, because then it's just about what do you want? What do you want? What would make you feel good? What would make you feel whole?
yeah,
And I would encourage, and most people are deeply influenced by the people around them.
mm,
So sometimes to answer the question, what do you want? I wouldn't be asking, what does your mother want for you? Or what does your husband want for you? Or what do you feel obligated to do? or
Mm,
what are you afraid, or what are you afraid of doing? Like, so to Wayne Dyer did a beautiful piece where he asked the question, what do you really, 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 really want?
mm,
And he did 4 reallys so that the first really might be, oh, I want a new car. And then you go deeper. No, what do you really, really want? Okay, I really would love a new job. Okay, what do you really, and he
yeah.
would say that you keep going deeper because the truth is that people want peace and people want love
Mm,
and people want to feel comfortable in their own skin. So, so that's one. I answered your question for the person with no faith base.
yeah.
It's a very different question. So, if somebody already has a prayer life or a spiritual life of sorts, then the question can be, how can you trust? You still have to ask the question, what do you want? Because you need to
Yeah.
listen, or because I never asked, what does God want for me? Because I think your intuition is the presence of God within you. So
Sure.
when you ask yourself, what do you really want? If you can listen free of outer influences, independent of how much money you have or how free you think you are, or you can give your vision some space
Yeah.
to percolate.
And I like the way you said that too. Instead of shifting from the what do I want being a thing versus maybe the inner quality of the feeling or the what the state or the quality, because ultimately that's like right. You're absolutely right. Most people are seeking some happiness or joy or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So but when people are face down in the mud, like I was,
Yeah.
face down in the mud, most people find faith in that moment,
Right. Yeah.
or they wish they had faith, or they pray that God is real, or they pray for holy help, because when there's nothing for you of your own self can do nothing when you've
Yeah.
had a. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, really, what are you going to do except do what the doctors tell you and go back to your families and try to put your life back together? But, as a practicing religious scientist, I mean, I was totally unwilling to sit in my house afraid of moving. I was just unwilling to do it. And
Yeah.
I just knew that the only way out of my predicament was to stop being afraid, stop avoiding life, stop um, awfulizing the future, thinking about worst case scenarios, and do what I wanted to do, what I would love to do. I had to get myself into a happy place, a
That's
hopeful place.
a hopeful place.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's the first step. Yeah. So, and what you shared about thinking about or awfulizing the future,
Mm.
so many people do. I've done that.
Of course, yes, it's very yeah,
Sometimes that's the first place you go.
yeah.
Um, and I would say though, having your thing was in a way, it was a crisis. So when people go through a crisis moment, I think sometimes the first thing that because they may have to let go of what the path that they were on. Maybe
Mm.
maybe temporarily, maybe, but at the point they're maybe saying to themselves, "Oh, all these dreams or hopes or whatever, I got to let go of that." And or maybe and that's their way of awfulizing the future because they don't see anything. Yeah, and you use the word hope, and sometimes that's the only place we can get to.
Yes, someplace it is, sometimes it is, but hope is better than despair,
Yeah.
even because the process of manifestation, of causing, of the things that happen around us, the things that come to us, our relationships, where we find ourselves, it's intimately tied to our emotional state.
Mm,
So if you want to, all of this is actually a little anecdotal because we hear these things all the time. Be the peace you want to see. The
yeah.
universe will be to you what you are to the universe. But these are platitudes unless you are living them.
Mm.
And if you're living them, then they become your integrated power of your creating your destiny
Yeah.
without too much effort,
Yeah.
and to what your relationship, what a relationship. I mean, a relationship, you're in relationship with whatever word you want to give this infinite intelligence that you live and move and have your beingness in. That when you do that, it removes the fear,
Hmm.
it removes the codependency with people, and it removes the ability to act, and it removes your thinking your life is about luck or fate or destiny or karma. I say that spirit trumps karma. So you get in right relationship and then walk in that relationship, and life will just happen in ways that make you happy. And
Yeah.
you will be listening to yourself and trusting yourself and believing yourself, and whatever you're supposed to be doing or being with, it just will happen pretty effortlessly. Ease and grace, I say. Live with ease and grace and not so much worry.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
good, even if you don't have a crisis. But crises happen. People might think, well, spiritual people, well, Reverend Denise, she's not going to have a stroke because she'll just affirm, she'll do the right prayer and she'll have affirmations, and she's healthy. And so why would she create a stroke for herself? That's what they would ask.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard somebody do that?
Oh, yeah.
What was that person thinking that they have a cold? It's like, people, stop it.
Yeah.
We're our bodies are carbon.
Yeah.
They have expiration dates on them.
Yeah.
We don't have expiration dates, but the bodies do.
Yeah.
So shift happens. Strokes happen, heart attacks happen, broken arms happen. It doesn't mean God's not real, and it doesn't mean that your faith is foolish. It just means that you had a stroke.
Yeah.
I had a stroke. So what? Now what? I can't do that job, but what can I do that I would love? You know, I can't walk that path because now I have a broken leg, but what path can I walk? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
And and when you look at the broader picture of things too, Reverend Denise, is some of the people that I've noticed that are, whether they're great teachers or healers or just they inspire people, um, they had something that was a crisis that now becomes part of them that they're carrying forward within their message. I mean, the one that comes to mind is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He had an accident and healed himself. And so
mhm,
some sort of conviction now he carries forward with what the work that he does.
yeah,
And I can certainly see that in you too, because obviously I've listened to some of your talks, and I just know what you convey. I listen to words, and I also feel vibration, like in a way, so I can
yeah,
sense when you're delivering your message and everything. It's wonderful. So yeah, it's
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good. But even people like Gordon Ramsay, the chef Gordon Ramsay was
yeah.
I think not hockey, rugby or soccer. I can't remember what, but he was a up and coming. I mean, this guy's huge. He's 6'4". He's a big guy, and his whole career was ruined through an
Mm,
accident. So he could no longer pursue his athletic career and became like one of the world's best chefs.
wow.
So yeah, so our adversities definitely can be used by God for good if we let them. I
Yeah.
mean, we could just stay in self-pity parties, and where I live, they kind of say I live in God's waiting room.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
I remember hearing that from my dad. Well, yeah.
I know it's funny, but I would just say while you're living in God's waiting room, because probably the we're all going to die, every single one of us. Like
Yeah.
100 years, not one of us the 8 billion people who are here will be gone in 125
Mm,
years, gone, and there'll be 8 billion brand new people. So
yeah.
so we're all going to die. So just have a good time. Don't worry
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
Forgive.
enjoy everything while within the waiting room, whatever that waiting room might be, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate your message and what you shared. And honestly, it it now speaks to what I actually see within you, Reverend Denise, too. So I can tell you've embodied that with a bit more faith, a bit more of, like, you shared the word surrender.
Yeah.
Um, you shared listen to the inner self, the inner guidance. We all have the sisters in our life. we all we all have, and sometimes,
Sorry, ladies.
yeah, and sometimes it's our own mind, right? Living in the
Yeah.
fear or trying to fit the standard of what we believe is the right thing to do, or the shoulds, or something that we
Yeah.
should do versus the heart calling us to whatever that might be. And I think that's wonderful what you share, because it really, I think a lot of people listening um, find faith which is within your message.
Yeah, good. Because you don't have to have a crisis. No, I know, don't you? I know many, many people who
Yeah,
are working in jobs they don't love, and they will not leave those jobs because of the 401k or because they feel obligated to support their families in that way. But you don't get a second chance in life. So find
yeah,
something you love to do that will accomplish those same things, because nothing is too hard for God. Nothing's impossible. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
Anyway, it's a joy to be here with you.
Yes, yes. No, this is
Yeah.
fantastic. I love it, and I love what you shared, and it just hits home with so many people. How can people, if they want to get more of Reverend Denise, or to be able to follow the Center for Spiritual Living and Cape Coral, what are the ways that people can actually connect with you?
Well, they can cslcapecoral.org is the center's website. Uh, I have my own Facebook page, Denise Schubert. I have another Facebook page called Life of Spiritual Power. I'm starting to stream live to those two sites, May 3rd and Sunday Night Alive at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for meditation and prayer. Um, I mean, people can actually email me if they want to,
Yeah,
at rev dschubert@gmail.com. I'm happy to receive hellos. How are you?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And if
I'll
you're in the
include all those links down below the video, and
okay,
so
yeah,
people can find that.
yeah.
And obviously, too, on any Sunday morning, they could connect. Even if they're not in Cape Coral, it'd be wonderful for them to walk through the door. But if they're,
Yes.
you have the live stream with that as well.
Yep, live stream to the Facebook Cape Coral's Facebook group and to YouTube.
Excellent.
Sunday mornings at 10:30.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Reverend Denise.
Pleasure.
Any last parting words that come to mind that you would like to share?
Um, uh, I don't know. I just would be happy, that life
Mm,
should be fun. It should be easy. It should be fulfilling. It doesn't have to be so hard. So be happy. The rest will follow. My
that
parting.
yeah, that's the best advice right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank, thank you so much,
My
Reverend Denise.
pleasure. My
All
pleasure.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you,
time.
everyone. Thank
Thanks.
you.